I hope I have everything.
You bounce?
Oh, John, your boots are too heavy.
Yes, the
60.
boots. 60.
Okay.
Sleeping bags and survival gear. Okay, back through this hatch.
Ready to fly in to the
to go.
St. Elias Mountains. Oh yeah. Yeah, buddy. Excited. This is really happening.
It's about to be
Yeah.
real.
Why you put your family through it and why you put your loved ones through it.
Anything worth doing is hard, and this is hard. It's a privilege to be able to try.
You are inconveniencing and putting other people in an uncomfortable place every time you step off that plane, every time you climb that mountain.
You never know what's going to happen at altitudes, but any one of us could be shut down.
We all own the decisions, and we all own the consequences of those decisions.
In the southwest corner of the Yukon Territory lies Mount Logan. 5,959 meters tall, Canada's highest peak, and the second highest peak in North America, after Denali in Alaska. It sits in Kluane National Park, which is an area of over 22,000 square kilometers adjacent to the Gulf of Alaska. What Logan lacks in height compared to its northern neighbor, it more than makes up for in remoteness and scale. Logan's massif has the largest base circumference of any non-volcanic mountain on the planet, and is in the middle of the largest non-polar ice sheet in the world. In addition to its true summit, the giant mass of granite includes 10 more peaks over 5,000 meters, and it has an incredible 20-kilometer glaciated plateau, large enough to fit Mont Blanc, Kilimanjaro, and the Eiger on it. With an average summer temperature of minus 27 degrees Celsius, few places on Earth are as high, cold, and remote. Logan has no cell service, no staffed base camps, no large groups or resources. You're very alone and reliant on your team.
We're here! Woo!
And there is no one. And our plane just left. And now it's real.
Hey, it's uphill.
We got to jump high again.
You might feel it.
So having another day down.
My name is Ryan Agar. I grew up in the Yukon, in a small town named Watson Lake.
And I think let's get them into bags. So like breakfast.
Over the years, I've been really interested in the outdoors. I've guided, I've taught.
I'm 2.5 hours into a 3.5 training run today.
Hiking was fun for a while, but mountains were pretty cool, and climbing was a pretty interesting approach to that as well. It's a very thinking person's sport, but also with a pretty high consequence, so it's important for you to sort of stay focused as well, and systems. So I got into climbing out of school because it was just cheaper than paddling and didn't involve getting wet.
And then we're gonna make our way to Camp 2, which is at the bottom of sort of this west ridge near Queen Peak. So
I'm always impressed with his sense of adventure and his willingness to support his team.
training's working, and I might have got a little carried away and pulled a hammy somewhere down there. And so currently everybody here is working out besides me.
Gets so singularly focused on this.
5th attempt out, is this going to be another failure? Is this going to be success?
Welcome.
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
This was going to be tough for Ryan. He has quite the history with this mountain. We knew that there would be sort of landmarks that would be tough to go by.
No, I wasn't surprised when he said he wanted to go back. For him, it's always been about the journey. Yeah, like there's a goal at the end, but he's not a peak bagger either. He just loves being out there. He loves expeditions. He loves planning them and preparing for them. He enjoys suffering through that awful training.
Our first attempt in 2013, our plan was to do the East Ridge. On that side of Logan anyway, there's not a lot between you and the Pacific Ocean. So storm systems brew in the South Pacific, and they basically slam into the Alaskan coast, and there's basically nothing that stops them from hitting you. We knew that a storm was coming in. We could see it coming up the valley. Packed everything up, nailed everything down, made sure everything was standing up or marked so we could find it, and settled in for whatever that looked like. And we would get up, we'd had an alarm every couple of hours, and we'd get up, start digging from the front of the tent, dig to the back, crawl back inside the tent, sleep for 4 hours, get up, dig, sleep, and this was our routine for 4 days. And on the 5th day, we woke up unable to breathe that morning. It was darker than we thought it should be. And what had happened is we'd actually slept through all of our alarms, and our tent that we were in was buried, and the only part that was left was about this much at the center pole at the very top. That was the only part that wasn't covered in snow. In 14 hours, we had 8 feet of snow. We ended up having to abandon our tent, dive into the hole, pull our gear, sleep in there in this slowly collapsing snow cave, and hope and wait for the storm to pass.
They were the only group on that route that year. Their shelter was compromised. They were completely alone, and they had a narrow weather window to get out.
Between the storm we had just hit and another storm in 3 days, that it was probably the end of our trip.
I don't think that I fully appreciated just how serious the situation was that first year. Until you've been up there and you experience that landscape and that kind of weather and that kind of stress, then I don't think anyone can really understand how scary that is.
This was a very different challenge than rock climbing. I needed to go back. We decided that let's tackle the King Trench. Logan's a really interesting mountain. You spend a bunch of time climbing to reach Prospector Cole, and then you actually have to descend onto the summit plateau. Prospector Cole is this really interesting decision point where once you commit to going over, you are very exposed to the weather, you're very exposed to the elements, and if you get into trouble, unlike many other mountains, you have to climb up to get out. So as we were climbing up into Prospector Cole, I was starting to feel worse and worse and able to carry less and less. So we decided to camp, spent a couple of nights there. You're starting to get high altitude pulmonary edema, or HAPE, and your lungs are starting to fill with fluid. Your body is now struggling to get enough oxygen. Our second night there, in the night I stopped breathing.
You're in the absolute middle of nowhere. If they needed a rescue, it could be days.
Partners woke me up. They noticed I was cyanotic, so my face had gone blue, and that I wasn't really with it. That night at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, at minus 30, we started to pack up tents and to descend. We went to about 3,000 meters. Weather held, and we were able to get out the next day.
Just made it up to Camp 1. I was on the front. I am cooked. Yeah. Breaking trail in the snow and the heat. Oh yeah. But
Expeditions of this style and altitude require a deliberate, measured approach. You move up, drop supplies of food and fuel at a future campsite, start work on your shelter, let your body acclimatize, and then retreat back down to a previous camp. And you would repeat that process. You could think of it as setting up the pieces on a chessboard. You want to have all your pieces in position before you make your summit attempt. The King's Trench route follows a weakness that runs up Mount Logan's western aspect. Typically, 5 or 6 camps are established in the safest and most practical locations. Above Camp 2, there's a significant icefall called the McCarthy Gap. Above Camp 4 lies Prospector Cole, a gateway from the western side of the mountain to the massive summit plateau. The summit plateau must be traversed to gain access to the peak of Canada. Climbing Mount Logan doesn't take days, it takes weeks. And although it's not considered technical compared to a lot of other high altitude peaks, the cold, the remoteness, the physical demands of hauling all your supplies, and just the committing nature of climbing the mountain make it a daunting task that few people attempt.
so, welcome to a morning on Logan. Ryan was kind enough to get up and make us coffee while we're in bed, so that's pretty sweet. We're at Camp 1, day 5. It's clear in the trench today, so I think we're going to be heading up to Camp 2 for our first trip up and see some of those Serac falls we heard last night up close, and maybe help make our camp and acclimatize a bit up there. I think everybody's feeling good. It is super hard and windy and crunchy. And hope everyone put on their sunscreen today. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Justin Wallace. I've wanted to climb Logan for a long time. Probably going on 10 years, maybe more. It just seems like such a worthy objective. You know, it's out there, it's big, it's bold, it's beautiful, it's remote, it's cold, it's gonna be hard.
What are we doing today?
We're about to set out on the Millennium Trail with a large tire and a couple of backpacks.
Yeah, he's always needed a challenge. And it's just amazing that when he makes his mind up, he does it.
Folks and I, my family and I would go camping when I was a kid, but we wouldn't necessarily, it wasn't backcountry camping, it was, you know, front country, car camping.
Outdoor ed, Justin took. It just really took off from there.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Ryan.
What are we up to?
Oh, we're going for a little ski tour.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, breaking into equipment.
Do you consider yourself a competitive person?
No one's gonna let me answer that with a no.
1,080, 90.
In 2012, Justin entered the Yukon Arctic Ultra. It's a 150-kilometer winter trail race through the subarctic wilderness. It bills itself as the world's coldest and toughest ultramarathon.
Because he'd never even run a marathon before. I questioned it a little bit, but then again, I was lucky enough to be up there and see his planning and his training for it.
And as we started out in the race, Verena sort of pointed this one fellow out and she said, just beat him, okay, Justin? You just have to beat that guy there. And I said, okay, yeah, okay, I'll do that for you. This fellow who I was supposed to beat stopped to take off his jacket as he warmed up, and I passed him and took the lead, and that was the last time I really saw anybody.
He didn't just win the race, he set a course record that still stands more than a decade later.
6 years ago, had a kid, and trying to expose him to all those things as well without being too pushy, so that hopefully he finds a couple of things that I like that he latches onto as well. It's finding that balance of pushing, getting somebody used to pushing themselves, and also stopping while it's still fun. 2 to 3 weeks is a long time to be away from him, but he sort of flip-flops. He's pretty excited about the trip, and then he says, "Oh, don't go." And then he's, really excited to talk about it again.
Ingredients in your mouth and see what happens. George goes, "I think he's worried." I was like, "He's not that worried." He goes, "I'm like, he's not telling how to me." He goes, "Oh well, he brought up like that it was dangerous without me prompting him."
It's hard to quantify the risk as well. Don't spend too much talking about that element of it, more about what the mountain is, sort of where it is, why we like to do things in the mountains. I think we're on the same page with regards to risk and how conservative or not we'll be together as a team, but that still remains to be seen, sort of tested in the field.
The dinner meals need work, but like noodles, little snacks.
I trust him a lot. I have a lot of confidence in his ability to make wise choices. I think they're going to do awesome, and what an achievement they will have had.
Just 5 hours of like huge winds. Oh no! Where'd our ski boots go? I had to dig out the tent. Ryan did a big job of digging stuff out too. Justin moved the skis. The mid got filled in. We got out our one there. We got the other skis, and my gear's under there.
The adventure spark happened for me, and I was lucky enough to be able to follow it.
When you're standing up in that triangle position is really good, but also be aware.
John's the youngest of my 3 children, our 3 children, Alex and mine. And he is the child with the wanderlust, obviously. And thank God I only had one of those and not 3. Very restless as a baby till he could move around.
I definitely wouldn't say it was typical to be sort of like a gay outdoor athlete or a guide. It was hard. I felt like I'm a subsection of a group and then in another subsection.
The caliber of people that John was associated with took John for not being gay, but for being John, and that kept, was a good place for him to be.
It's all figuring out who I really am and not who I put on as what sort of person I sort of made myself be for everyone to see.
Nope, I wasn't. It was you're in the way of the suffering. Can you make ribbit noises when you do that, John?
He wouldn't do this trip just with anybody. He's going to want to keep himself safe, and same with his friends. I did look up Mount Logan, And I thought, whoa, that is a big mountain. So I looked at a couple pictures and I read a few things on it. Not much. And then I put my phone away and I thought, no, that's enough.
They understand me and they understand my drive, so they want to support me.
Going up Peckle Hill today. It's pretty nice.
He's been involved in other things that have kind of frightened me a little bit. I mean, but that's a mother's job, right? You always want to protect your children even when they're growing up.
I think they also know to maybe not show that as much for me because they want me to feel strong.
If he's in a bad situation, I know he will change his plan or adjust as best they can. You know, you have to step aside and realize they're going to do what they want to do. Whether I encourage him or try and discourage him, he's going to do it anyway. So I want to be on his side.
Just finished first round of step-ups.
If he says he's going to do it, he's got to do it. That's the way he is, so you might as well just go along for the ride with him.
That's 10.
If we leave the extra stove here, if this one craps out while we're down here, great. If we take a stove up with us and a bottle up with us, then we know we have something good at the top. But
Biggs yet?
yeah, I've got one, Justin's got one.
Cool. So there's one there for me. Here's Ryan on the climb up through the McCarthy Gap.
Dropped off a week's worth of food and fuel and supplies at Camp 3 and feeling a lot better.
Yeah,
Feeling a lot better.
changed it for you a little bit.
Yeah, put some demons to rest, I think.
The McCarthy Gap is a challenge for most teams, and in his third attempt on the mountain, Ryan experienced that firsthand.
Year 3 was great. I had all the guys that I would want to have on a team. My ice climbing partner, the guy I learned to ice climb with, I've been on many adventures. The two guys that I'd been mentoring on ice climbing, this was going to be the year. And everything was going great. We had stable weather windows for 14 days at a time. We were pushing a cache up to the football field from Camp 2. And you have to move through what's called the McCarthy Gap, which is the most technical part. It's about a 30 to 40 degree snow slope in an ice fall. And every year I've been going back there, it gets harder and harder. The crevasses are getting bigger and bigger, the snow bridges are getting thinner and thinner. As we started to get back to the top of the McCarthy Gap, we decided that we would go from skiing to walking. We were all lined up. I was in the front, Greg was right behind me, Joel was third, and Jared was fourth. All of us were sort of fussing with our packs, getting our skis strapped and pulling and flaking out ropes and getting things all dialed up. And I remember Jared, who was at the back of the line, said, "Where's Joel?" And I was like, I thought he was sort of messing with me. I was like, we're on a giant glacier. Like, there's nowhere to go. We're only like 20 feet apart. Like, there's nowhere to go. And I look out for my pack, and there's no sign of Joel. There's 3 guys on top, and there's a hole the size of Joel and his pack on the top.
Hi. So, I just fell about 40 meters into a crevasse. I fell from up there, and that's another opening over there. I landed on my head, but I was able to right myself after I calmed down, started breathing. That's way down the way I don't want to go.
Ryan's best friend has just been swallowed by the glacier. There's 3 guys left on top. What do you do in that moment? You have to assume he's possibly dead.
Mountaineering's fun.
He was able to wiggle back and forth and get his head up so he could actually get an airway. He was actually buried from the tip of his head to his belly button. The good 30 seconds that he was in that position, he was unable to breathe.
And then once they've, figured out how to safely look down into the hole where Joel used to be standing, and they realize that, it's sort of a miracle. He's not 1,000 feet down already. He's alive and he's within, reach. Then they have to put aside the shock and the terror.
He's now standing on a snow bridge of unknown depth or density.
The team is divided by the crevasse. Joel is yelling up to them that they are standing on a snow bridge.
You got an axe?
I mean, it's crazy.
At least I'm hooked into something.
We got him on his rope, and he started self-ascending up.
This is my backup line.
As he started to crest the top of the hole, and I just remember Jared, who's not that big of a dude, he's about my size, reached in and just basically grabbed Joel by his chest and hauled this 190-pound dude straight up into a massive bear hug. The best thing to do for the team, the best thing to do for Joel was to get out. They checked him out and with an MRI and no spinal damage, no cord damage, no lingering effects apart from some vertigo he had for a while.
The shit is real here. Like, this was as near a miss as you get.
We nearly lost a friend, and a little bit of that was me wondering if it was my hubris. But I don't get to own other people's decisions. But still, there's a piece where no one would be in this situation if it weren't for me. To get off, just to get by, and nothing terrible happened. I don't know that any of us really knew how to process that. It was if we still needed to be close to each other and do things with each other, almost as if like to say, we're still good, we're still together. I felt responsible. And Jared was the first to look in a hole and see his friend not moving at the bottom of it. And that, I can't help but think that damages a person. And I can't help but think that that's my fault. We entered as a team. We came off the mountain as a team with all the members that we started with. And that is success. The summit would be a nice cherry. That would be a nice picture and memory to have. But coming home, that's what success actually looks like.
Why was it the hardest part, Justin?
I don't know, John. I think he's got a big backpack and a sled, and it was really goddamn steep.
What would you say that degree? Was it 50 degrees or a little more?
Properly steep.
It was
It was proper steep.
I would say 50 plus.
50, 55?
Yeah, having a sled that's like pinwheeling behind me and trying to switch back onto skis. Yeah, it was physical.
Guess what we don't have to do again?
Go up this shit?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. We got to Camp 3 and everybody feels like shit. We all took Advil. We're pretty tired. Justin puked. He's in the tent. Ryan's like a trooper digging a toilet in a wall with this crumbly snow. Everything just takes so much longer and we're just so tired.
Ryan's lungs started to get interesting around Camp 3. And that's where it was like John was listening to them sort of on a nightly basis.
His output when he was leaning up in the front of the rope started to slow down.
Dinners and lunches too for having a camp day. Want to have a lot, something tasty.
It was hard being the medic because you feel that responsibility. I don't want to just listen to his lungs and say, "Oh man, you're done. Like turn this ship around. We're going home." But I also wanted to be safe.
This is what most of it's like. Really slow pace. Today we're moving up to Camp 4. A little concerned with Ryan's lungs. I think he's got some symptoms between mild and moderate HAPE, but he got a lot better over a day. So we're keeping a really close eye on that. And today will be a really good test to see how he does. We're going from about 4,800 meters to about 5,200. And over the last half an hour, I've gotten very lightheaded. We have lots of hot minestrone water, but not clean, delicious, non-minestrone water.
So they're approaching Prospector Cole. Ryan's lungs are questionable. John and Justin are feeling the altitude too. Everybody's starting to unravel a little bit at this point. Ryan has to be wondering, is this going to be another failure? A year after Joel's fall, Ryan, Joel, and Greg went back. Jared didn't join them. At first, things seemed pretty promising, but ultimately they turned back at Prospector Cole. They weren't sure about the weather window. As a team decided that it didn't feel right.
It's super important to respect those intuitions in the mountains.
When they got off, I was so proud of them.
There on a dusty airstrip on the shores of Kluane Lake.
And I just said, "Now can we get married?" And he said, "Yes." After year 4, I think a lot of people thought Ryan was done. He had finally left the mountain on his own terms. He owned that decision, and he seemed to be ready to move on.
Coming over Prospector Cole, because that was the farthest Ryan had ever been. He'd been literally to that col, the spot between the two peaks, and hadn't been able to see down into plateau. And getting through the McCarthy Gap, the icefall, and then the lungs stabilizing enough for us that we were okay.
And at one point he said, "This is the first time I can see beyond Prospector Cole."
Oh, okay. We might get this.
It's May 17th, 2021. We're at Camp 5.
What are we going to do tomorrow?
Gonna go to the top of Canada.
Fucking right we are. So stoked!
While Logan has always been unfinished business, and I'm arrogant enough to want to finish that business, I also care enough that I didn't know how to make those two things balance. That this goal has this consequence, and how could I put that together again?
And it'll be successful if I feel good about how I am on the mountain.
I think everybody at times wonders how strong they are, how much they can push themselves.
Only a couple hundred meters more. And there should be
10 years of failures and attempts and adventures. This is the sum total of like a community of work. And there are dozens of people who have been a part of the story who can't be here and probably won't ever get here. It's awesome to be at the top with John and Justin. And at the same time, it's so very sad to be there without those folks. This is what it looks like. This is the top. Who am I now?
Why do we drive ourselves to chase our dreams? What does it take to get there for us and the people who care about us? How do we balance being a partner, a child, a parent, a friend, with the pursuit of a goal that requires real risk, real sacrifices? And when we finally achieve that goal, what does that mean? There's a paradox in pushing your limits in one of the most remote corners of the planet. It's not just three friends tied together. Everyone who supports them is connected too, holding the other end of the rope, tying them to safety and home. It's not just about responsibility or consequences, but about sharing the journey with the people you love.
Hi, John. How's it going, John? It's day 20. 20, John. It's good, John. We're great, John.
We're hoping that plane comes back and we all get out tonight. We're waiting for the plane that's not gonna come.
Cheers, boys. Well done.